Sugar. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Andrea, do you go by Andrea or Andrea?
Thank you for asking, Andrea.
Andrea. All right, very good. Hi, Margot. I see you too.
Good morning, Jeff.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So let's walk through what it is that we're talking about. So this is class 3. So remember the first one, we talked about the act of mirroring, which is being able to repeat back in a upward inflecting voice what the person says to you. Like when they say 6%, that's a lot of money. A lot of money. And the idea is to pull out more emotion, more objection, and more information. The second step is to be able to label what we call labeling the pain, but it's labeling that emotion. And that's what we spoke about in the second class. And that is to say something like, and Margot, I'm going to use you right now because you're perfectly in my eyesight. I would say something to the effect, Margot, hey guys, can you mute yourselves?
Joseph sent a text in it this morning before 7.
Able what I think her objection is going to be, which in this case I would say, Margot, it sounds like you're worried that you're going to pay too much for the sale of your home. Now, there's things I'm looking for in that. So I got to ask, okay, well, where does it go from here? So the daughter was downstairs with me early this morning making a sandwich to take to lunch before her and her mom ran off to get her dropped off at school. And like every morning when I'm with her, she goes, okay, well, what's on your agenda today? I said, I'm teaching that class. She goes, well, what's it on today? And I said, why yes is an absolutely meaningless word, and why no is the most important thing when we're in negotiations and trying to get somebody to do something. And I looked at her, she looked at me, she kind of cocked her head, and she didn't get it. And I think you guys are going to have a little bit of an issue until I explain this to you. So, yes is typically meaningless. Let that sink in. Yes is meaningless. Hi, Randy. Yes is meaningless. No is the most important word you can get out of somebody you're negotiating with. What do you mean? We're trying to get to a yes. Anybody who's been in sales, at least for a couple of years, has taken some sort of sales class where they teach you the 1850 technique of asking 3 questions somebody will say yes with, the third one being, will you buy it? You know, was our location easy to find? Yes. Are you enjoying the weather? Yes. You want to buy this $2 million house? It doesn't work that way. And I get arguments about this all the time. All the time. I get arguments about this. Hey, Darren, can you help me out with muting, please? So I get arguments about this all the time. And here's the example I'm going to give you. You guys remember when we used to have home phones? I mean, there's a couple of you that still do. I've seen them on your roster, but most of us don't even have home phones. I mean, I think my last home phone was in like 2005. But nonetheless, we used to get phone calls from people selling water softeners. You guys remember this? Yeah, Margot remembers. Okay, good. So they were all taught a similar script, and it was the 3 yeses to get to a purchase. And I want you to think about how this makes you feel. All right. So answer your home phone, and my rear end on the other end says, Randy, does your family enjoy drinking clean, safe water? Well, okay, yeah. Do you think you owe it to your family to make sure the water that comes out of your tap and into their glass is the most healthful quality possible? Yes. Can I come out tomorrow to show you this wonderful thing that my company sells that we can install and it'll only cost you $3,200? No. But what do I do when I ask you questions that you have to say yes to? I make you feel on the defense. This is the truth. This is the way psychology, behavioral science, everything works. If you don't allow people to say no, they're going to be on edge. They are going to be resistant to anything. The only time somebody is being sold to where they feel safe is when they know it's okay to say no. So I want you to think about this. What does no actually mean? You get to know whether we have presented an offer, whether we've done anything. And by offer, I don't mean your purchase contract. I mean an offer to list the property, an offer to take them out, show them a property, an offer to introduce them to a lender, an offer to take the significant other to a movie. But when you get a no, this is what it triggers. It means they're not ready yet to agree. You're making them feel uncomfortable. They may not yet understand. They don't think they can afford it. They actually want something else. They need more information, and they need to talk it over with someone else. No's are worthless. If you force somebody into a yes, that's when you guys call me the next day and say the person is canceling their listing. I need you to sign off on it because they're not going to keep it on the market. Or in the case of some of the ones that have happened in the last couple of weeks, our agents are so good at getting somebody to write an offer and get the offer accepted, they don't send in their deposit because they get cold feet. Because we haven't worked out all the kinks yet to make that person feel safe. So how do we do that? So once we understand what the person's information, the most they'll share with us in the beginning with Mary, and then we label the emotions behind their resistance to something, why they want to do something, what they're scared of, why they think it's going to cost too much, why they think you may not be the right person, it may not be the right neighborhood, they're not sure about school district. We're going to get all of that out, but we're going to ask questions that allow them to say no. So Randy, if your client is in escrow on a property, they do the home inspection, and it comes back and I don't know, let's say there's a whole list gamut of everything in the entire world that needs to be repaired. You do the smart thing and you say, well, ask for a credit as opposed to, asking for the seller to replace one roof tile, a shower head, a loose toilet, on and on and on. You guys, the doorbell doesn't work, the ceiling fan wiggles, all the things that, we're always dealing with. And we go, okay, we're gonna ask for a $10,000 credit. Randy, does that work for you? You think $10,000 will cover it? And let's say, or I'm sorry, Randy, you're the buyer's agent. Randy tells his clients, how about 10 grand? And they say, yeah, okay, cool. So we write it, we send it to the listing agent. Listing agent comes back and says, no, they won't go higher than 5,000. We looked at the request. Not going to do it. So now what? Randy's clients decide whether they want to move forward or not. Now I've got both Randys next to each other now. That's cool how this around. That works perfect. Now you don't know which one of you two I'm talking to. So, I can really make this funny. I'm talking to the smart Randy. You two fight about it. That's awesome. I like this. This is going to be a good morning. So nonetheless, but if I phrase the question, let's say they want to back out. And Randy tells his clients, Margot, who's now the buyer apparently, do you really want to lose this house and the opportunity and the money you've already spent on the home inspection and the credit report and everything else? Is Margot going to say, yes, that's what I want? I doubt it. There's so little chance Margot's going to say, yes, actually what I was hoping for was to be $700 into this purchase already, not get the house, have my house half packed up, have the kids already fall in love with it and pick out their bedrooms, and we already know what furniture we're going to buy. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. That sounds like a good time. Thank you, Randy. Let them know that's what we want to do. But you see, if we give her the opportunity to say no, we're not only giving her power to make a decision, we're giving her the opportunity to feel safe, as if we're not forcing her to do something. So how do you do it? Well, Margot, do you really want to lose the opportunity to purchase this house and the $700 you've already put into the purchase over a couple $1,000s? And the chances are she's going to say no. So how do I move this around full circle? Well, everything in negotiation in life, not just real estate, ladies and gentlemen, is really allowing the other party to solve their own problems, make the decision that you direct them towards. Because guess what? All of us have the same issue. We like our ideas and our solutions better than anybody else's. That's how people are. We're just wired that way. Our idea's better. Our opinion's better. The way that we celebrate at the house is better. Our cooking's better. The way we raise our kids is better. The way we drive is better. The gas station we pick to get gas is better. The way we shop at the grocery store is better. We're better. Let them make the decision on their own on how to solve the problem. And all of that goes into letting them say no. So if I get them to say no to a question about, do you want to lose the opportunity for what you've already invested emotionally and financially in, and the answer is no, then all I have to simply do is ask this one sentence question. And I'm going to ask it to Randy because now he moved up directly into my line of sight. Actually, both of you did. Interesting. You guys keep moving. You're always next to each other. It works out great. Randy's, how do you think we should move forward? Now watch, I'm going to blow your mind. And maybe not in a way where you're like, oh my gosh, I want you to think about this. If I asked the buyer who was going to buy because they only got half of the repair requests that they were asking for, and they want to kill it, and I ask them the question about whether or not they want to lose the house, and they say no, they don't. And then I ask you, how do you want to move forward? How do we handle this situation? What do you want to do? I go right back to class 1. When Randy says, go back to him and tell him we need the 10 grand and we're canceling. Canceling? Yeah. I'm not taking no lousy 5 grand for this when I know it's 10 grand and they're being cheapskates and they're already making a ton of money. A ton of money? Yeah, they're probably making too much. Too much? Yeah. Well, Randy's, I like that thing, say it plural. It seems like, now I'm going to go to class 2. I'm going to label the pain. It seems like you are more concerned about the seller's profit rather than you getting the house you and your family picked out and that you love. Guys, this is mind-bending. Think about what that does to the other side. I take them all the way forward until we get to a no. Then we go back to drawing out more information about why they're really saying no. What if it was after we empty our 401k, our savings account, and borrow money from our mom and dad, we won't have any money left over to make the repairs? Okay, do I now have more information to be able to negotiate with the other side? Yes, because I don't just have a standoffish person on the other side saying, no, you know what? Cancel. I don't care. Let them keep it. That's what we're trying to avoid. And this requires being calm and reacting in a way to where you're concerned about the other party and what they're thinking, their emotions, allowing them to feel safe speaking, and then helping guide them to figure out the solution. So let's flip it. Let's say that the problem isn't that they're worried about how much money the seller's going to make or the seller's a cheapskate. Let's say it really is. We're going to be absolutely 100% drained of money. We won't be able to afford the repairs. You won't be able to afford the repairs? No, because Our parents are giving us money. We empty the 401k. We emptied our savings account just all for the down payment because of, the interest rate and what the payment's going to be, yada, 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 yada. Okay, what does that give us? That gives us some ways of, do we do the same technique to the listing agent to them to go back to the sellers? That's what we need. Being able to explain calmly and realistically why the buyers are concerned about it, as opposed to slapping off that text, email, or voicemail you're going to do that says, you know what, if your sellers won't give the 10 grand, we walk. My buyers say they're not moving forward. We'll walk. Instead, if we go back to the listing agent and we do the same thing to them, chances are they'll take a little bit back to their sellers. So if Randy's were the listing agent, I'd go back and I'd say, Randy's, thank you so much for your response. The buyers reviewed it, but because they're emptying all of their funds in order to meet the down payment requirement and closing costs, they're not going to be in a position to be able to fix these things that they're going to need as they move in order to be able to use the house correctly. So now I'm going to listen. Now the listing agent's going to say something like, yeah, well, my sellers are adamant. They won't pay more than 5 grand. Not more than 5 grand? No, they won't pay more than 5 grand. They think the buyers are being greedy. Being greedy? It sounds like your sellers are worried that the buyers are asking for too much. Well, yeah, they are. Randy's, let me ask you, do you and your seller want to have to put the home back on the market and start this process over again? Does anybody say yes to that? Listing agent thinks he's got a commission check coming in like 10 days. Seller is probably living out of one dish, a fork, and paper plates, and is probably eaten pizza and Chinese takeout for the last week. No, they do not want to put their house back on the market. Do you see where that gives us negotiating power? So, all right, I'm Mr. Listing Agent now. I'm going to go talk to my sellers, and I'm going to have a conversation with them. Okay. And by the way, guys, when you're the listing agent, you should be doing the same thing to your sellers. Because is it really in their best interest? Over 5 grand? Because I would, they're asking for 10. You're negotiating over 5. I would tell the Randys, if they were the seller, Randys, do you really want to put your house back on the market over $5,000? When, as I'm looking at your net sheet again, you stand to make $480,000. It's going to be wired to your account? Yes, I do. That's exactly what I was hoping for, because I enjoy pizza, Chinese takeout, and plastic cups. They're awesome. By the way, I can't find my shampoo. I think the wife packed it. That's not what happens. If we take everybody off the ego part, we make them feel safe to where we're listening and, hey, there's always a solution. You will probably find somewhere we're going to meet where everybody's going to be happy. And guess who won? Everybody. Buyer gets house, seller gets it sold, the agents get paid. Everybody wins. This isn't a win-lose thing. When you win, everybody wins. But emotionally, the other parties need to feel like they won. Any of you ever had those phone calls after a close where they really just have buyer's regret or seller's remorse, and they're telling you that you charged too much, that the condition of the property wasn't what they thought, everything else? Yeah. Now, is that going to happen sometimes? Yes. People are crazy. Okay. People are crazy. You guys are all crazy. Thankfully, I'm not. Just kidding. But you need to think about this. If we emotionally satisfy people, we allow them to help come up with the solution, they buy into it. They own it. It becomes their decision. And the great part is when, let's say it's the wife's decision, you're talking to the wife and there's a husband involved. Let's say the husband wasn't involved in all of your Jedi mind trick negotiating tactics and comes home to the wife going, listen, we're going to go ahead and give the buyers 10,000, or we're going to give them 9,000 to get this done. And the husband starts over with the wife is automatically going to sell the husband on it because it's her idea and her decision. So she has to emotionally vindicate the decision she made. And, you know, ladies, by the way, your last ringer on that, if the dude doesn't listen, is it's just like, well, how much do you like sleeping on the couch? You know, then you're good. And we get a sign off and we're done. We move forward, we close the escrow. This is how this stuff works. It is a constant circle with everybody. So, so sorry. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing that doesn't require scripts. It literally requires you to listen to what the person said, repeat part of it back, listen for more information until you guys are all smart enough, feel that you have information in order to label why they're saying what they're saying. Positive, negative, adversity, whatever the heck it is, you label it. And then we move to framing a question that allows them to say no. Now, here's the other trick to the no question. Do you know what people fear? I mean, besides heights, snakes, I have this thing about leeches. I've never even seen a real leech, but I'm like actually scared of leeches. I do not know why. Probably some childhood movie I saw or something. But nonetheless, people are scared of loss. They're scared of losing something. The studies left and right are crazy. They have done so many of these. At least I think the earliest one I have on the bookshelf dates back to the early 40s, which I know isn't necessarily that long, but that's about as far back as my behavioral science goes. But it's so weird when you give somebody the opportunity. Randy's, you have a 95% chance of winning $5,000 or 100% chance of taking $100. Almost everybody takes the $100, even though there's only a 5% difference chance in outcome. People will do more to protect something that they're afraid they're going to lose than they will to try and gain. This is why it's so hard to get entrepreneurs and people to go above and beyond and grow and step out of their comfort zone. But man, I'll tell you what, you miss 2 mortgage payments and a couple car payments and you start having to hide your car because the tow trucks come in to repossess it, all of a sudden you get really crafty out there. You're going to garage sales and reselling stuff on eBay. You're driving Uber at night. You're finding all these ways to be able to put it together. But it's not until you think you have the loss. And that's been proven too. Now, listen, you know, some of you on this know me quite well. I haven't necessarily been blessed with the best luck with health. Just is what it is. And I also made really stupid choices. Started smoking again. Like, I don't eat particularly healthy. I don't particularly work out. You know, basically, I'm a walking person that, like, when I get really sick and something bad happens, I've probably not done enough to avoid it. But what's my point? Oh, I guarantee you, I have a heart attack and go to the hospital and they have to do open heart surgery or something. And they tell me, listen, if you don't quit smoking and you don't start, you know, limiting your salt and not eating fast food or whatever it is, you know, you're going to die. Well, now I'm going to lose my life. So guess what? I can. Whereas I can walk around every day feeling perfectly fine. And as soon as we're done with this, I'm going to go light up a cigarette. Why? Because I'm not losing anything yet. This is what we leverage in order to get people out of their ego zone where they're puffing their chest. No, why? Just because. We want to take it down to the emotion and solve it and show them a way to frame it to where they're able to say no. And then we can ask them if they're looking for that loss. And then shut up. And then whatever the answer is how do we solve it? But Jeff, I have some crazy clients and I did this, because one of you is going to call me like sometime in the next 30 days and tell me this. Okay. I did exactly what you said. And the husband and wife sellers flat out said, yes, we will resell the damn house. We don't care. Okay. Every once in a blue moon, that'll happen. But I go right back to it. You're going to put the house back on the market? Absolutely. I'm not standing for this. Standing for it. It looks to me like you're sitting down. Humor, ladies and gentlemen, at least my attempt at my dry, weird humor. But we go through this and we take it right back again to labeling. Randy's, it sounds like you're angry and want to draw a line in the sand. Dang right. We're not going to be pushed around by these jerks that think they're going to take our house and get our house and buy it, and we're going to do all this stuff for them. Go right back to Randy's. Aren't you moving to a new home in Idaho? Do you really want to have to call your other agent out there or the new home build and let them know you're not going to close on time? Well, no, not really. Aren't you at risk for losing your deposit? Well, yeah. Okay. What do you think we should do about this? You're going to get an answer. And if the answer continues to be go pound sand, tell them to go to heck, cool. Fine. You can only extract so much, guys. I'm not teaching you something that's going to make people do things against their will. If it was, I'd be in a mansion right now. I do not believe we can get people to do things against their will. And even if we can, which I always use this example, selling cars, ladies and gentlemen, especially in California, is a very funny art. Because if I get you to take delivery, meaning you signed and you took the keys, you can't return it. So even if you drive home in your bright red $170,000 Corvette or whatever they cost, and your wife murders you, your option is to sell it. You can't bring it back to me and ask for my commission or me to lose the deal. I'm done. I'm done. I make the sale, I'm done. But what about real estate agents? Oh, see, we are selling throughout a 30 or 45-day transaction, along with all these new problems that come up every day. Not just the ones we solve in the 7 hours in the dealership where they bring out the manager, the guy, and you go back and forth, and, well, we won't give you that. You clear coat the undercoating. But once you're done, you're done. Even with us, once we give them the keys, they unlock the door and move their stuff in, we're still on the hook. They can come back and say, you didn't represent us right. We're mad at the seller. We're mad at the other agent. We're mad at you. We're mad at ourselves. And we have to go right back through this whole thing to pull out the information we're really mad at and let them be able to solve these problems. That's why I keep us out of court, ladies and gentlemen. So do your other brokers. Because this is what we do on the other end when we have a freaked out party. By the way, I spent this weekend with a lawyer that is hassling us, one of our agents. Funny as heck. This big bad attorney. Same stuff worked on him. I literally walked him down this exact thing. Let him talk about all the complaints, repeating back the complaints. Well, yeah, you know, sounds like your clients are really unhappy. They are. Sounds like you are trying to do a really good job of showing how tough and stern you are to get them as much money as possible. They are. Are you climbing to prepay your legal fees in the hope this won't get like cut in more than half if it actually goes to jury? Well, no, they don't have the money. No. How do we solve this? Well, what they'll really take is 5,000. You were asking for 120,000 friggin' Friday. Okay, do I have something new to work with? Yeah. Can I go back to the previous owners and say, listen, if you want to stay out of small claims, you don't want to hassle this, can you guys afford to write a check for $5,000? We'll have them sign a hold harmless, we'll be done. The answer is going to be yes. We made $500,000 off the sale of our house. We don't live in the state. We don't want to fly back to go to court. This is BS. They hassle us the whole time. Yeah, we'll write the check. We're done. Michelle Gray, you have a question. All I see is like a yellow emoji hand that comes up on my screen, and then it has somebody's name I can barely read under it. So even though I'm wearing my glasses. But anyway, but that's the end, guys. This is how the circle works. Now.
That was on accident. I'm sorry.
That's okay. What's going on?
Oh no, I finally got my mic and camera going, so I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. That's okay. So another thing, you guys ever have somebody, and I know Randy Horowitz had this one. You ever have somebody ghost you? You know, you're moving along, you're working, things seem like they're going good. I don't care if it's the other agent, your client, I don't care who it is. And then all of a sudden they just disappear. Let me give you a trick. Okay? Here's a trick. Subject line of email or the first line of the text that you send. Have you given up on buying a house, selling a house, this project, coming to an agreement? It triggers a better response than most of the ones that we send, which is like, this is an urgent matter and needs your attention now. Which, by the way, I just got one, so that'll be interesting because I really don't want to read it. But if it said something like, you know, Jeff, do you really want us to lose this deal? I'd probably be reading while I'm talking to you because, well, hell no, I don't want us to lose this deal. Anyway, keep that in mind. It's a good trick. Okay, next week. This is the complete turnaround to where you get a commitment that doesn't fall apart, and you can be almost guaranteed that they will follow you even when things get rumbly as we go along in the transaction and things unexpected come up. So next week, which is based on the no is important, yes is meaningless, but this is getting to that's right, not or right. So I'll leave you this one. If you ever have an argument where you're not really yelling, but you're lecturing, you ever done that to your kid, your kids, your spouse? I don't know. I do it to a lot of people. Lecture, 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 lecture. Let me regurgitate all this stuff that you should be doing or how it should be done. And what does the person say when they want you to shut up and go away? You're right. You're right, honey. You're completely right. Do I really mean it? No. Am I committed to it? No. Is it going to change my behavior? No. I want you to be quiet. My kids do it. The lady does it. I do it when somebody's doing it to me. You're right. You're right. Oh, yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So I'm going to teach you why that's right is more important than you're right, because these negotiations aren't about you until you get paid. And then you're the superstar. Till next week, ladies and gentlemen, available anytime any of you need me, reach out. Thank you very much for attending. I appreciated having all of you on here. My goodness, that's awesome. And Randy's, thank you for letting me use you. You guys take care. Have a great day. We'll see you next week.